stop the train that has been rolling through the top 8. And this is a matchup we said before that Death and Taxes has the tools to deal with here, but Hoey's gonna have a turn 1 Delver, so we'll see how much he can deal with it.
Yeah, this is the opening that Hoey needs. Death and Taxes is a little soft in the air. It's very good at blocking on the ground, but a flying creature, very important to getting off to a good start against them.
Yeah, Hoey shows no sign of backing off. His turn 1 Delver immediately flips off a Brainstorm. Colin was able to sneak in a Aether Vial under because there was no daze on Hoey's side, but still looks to be pretty, like, backpedaling pretty quickly.
Yep. Though there's not a lot left over in Hoey's hand to keep up the pressure here. He's got a couple counter spells that's not of very much value. Stifle will be good if Stoneforge Mystic rears its ugly head, but a tough hand here. One that's really susceptible to even something like Swords to Plowshares taking out all of his pressure.
Yeah, he does have a Lightning Bolt, but to take care of one of Colin's threats. But you're absolutely right, and he doesn't have a follow-up threat going on. Swords to Plowshares would be pretty tough for him. Almost you think he'd have to force it if Colin played one.
Not doing much else with that Force of Will now that Aether Vial's in play.
All right, Aether Vial ticks up to 1. Wasteland for Colin Logan. He can attack Hoey's Mana Base, or he can go for a 2-drop. He's going to have to choose between the two of them. He took 3 that turn off of Insectile Aberration. And he's going to start with Swords. That's pointed right at Insectile Aberration, and Hoey could not force it quicker.
I like that. You know, this Force of Will isn't doing very much else, and Hoey's hand also doesn't do very much else if that Delver of Secrets goes away. So he's got to protect it, even though Force of Willing a removal spell this early in the game is not the best thing.
Yeah. So Colin, no other plays, can't play anything off that Wasteland. Is going to pass back. Hoey with Lightning Bolt and Brainstorm left in his hand here. Go ahead and fetch. We will see if he wants to find maybe one other form of protection per first creature, preferably another creature.
Yeah, another Delver of Secrets would be the ideal draw here.
All right, he drew a Force of Will. He could pitch his Brainstorm to that, so he could use that to protect his creature again. But that comes at another 2-for-1 cost. It really takes all the rest of the weapons out of his hand.
Yeah, it's not like Colin's really in range of being killed right away here. Game's going to go on for a long time, so there's only so many exchanges like that Hoey can tolerate.
Yeah, swing from Insectile Aberration puts Colin down to 14. And Hoey, no third land, is just going to pass back here. He has a fetch land, a Lightning Bolt, a Brainstorm, and a Force of Will. Pass back, and it's going to be Mother of Runes out from under Aether Vial on the end step.
Hoey's resources are getting exhausted here in a big way. He's not even going to bolt the Mother of Runes. I think the logic here is Hoey's just saying,
the bolt's going upstairs.
Yeah, he can't win a game by trading 1-for-1 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, once the Mother Rune's down, the bolt's not hitting a creature anymore. It's Lava Spike. Mother Rune's in play. The question is, what creatures can Colin put down? If he can get Stoneforge and Batterskull up here, that's going to be real bad news for Hoey.
Forget that. Even Sarah Avenger is going to be really hard for Hoey to beat from this spot.
Yeah, he can't bolt the Sarah Avenger. So there's a lot of cards which could come down as soon as this turn that are very hard for Hoey to deal with.
I like that Hoey's at least picked a plan here. It's a long shot, but I don't think he can win this game kind of in a conventional fashion anymore.
A second Mother of Runes is the play from Colin Logan. You see in his hand there is a Stoneforge Mystic and Aven Mind Sensor, among others. So he is going to keep working that Aether Vial chain. And main phase, going to go ahead and play Thalia. Not so concerned about Hoey's attack that he feels the need to even get Batterskull yet.
Yeah, not at this stage. He can take the lumps, and I think the first thing that's going to be deployed is the Sarah Avenger, because that locks this board up just as effectively as the Stoneforge Mystic.
Absolutely. Draw for Hoey was another Delver of Secrets. So now he has Brainstorm, Force of Will, Delver, Lightning Bolt. We'll start by cracking Colin down to 11. Remember, as you said, an aerial attack is a soft spot for Death and Taxes. Hoey's going to play his fetch land and a Delver, leaving up the possibility of a Brainstorm fetch interaction.
Yeah, Death and Taxes isn't quite as extreme as Elves, which can block on the ground all day and cannot touch a flyer, but it's a similar thing. You can see Colin right now locking up the board with Mother Runes and First Strikers and so forth. The air is a little bit softer.
No Sarah Avenger to be had, though. That turn, Colin teched his Aether Vial up to 3. I believe he has Aven Mind Sensor in hand, so he can just as easily do that. He's going to go for a Stoneforge Mystic. We will see if this card works, if this can elicit a Force of Will from Hoey. He doesn't have too many chances left at countering anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he holds it for if not this.
Maybe the question is it worth pitching Brainstorm? Like maybe, you know, if this Brainstorm is more valuable than the Force, you just don't play the Force, right?
Potentially.
And maybe you need to Brainstorm into Lightning Bolts, but Hoey's going to go ahead and force Stoneforge. But I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble. You can vial a Mind Sensor into play, and then he can aggressively Mother of Runes to just win the trade because he has a second Mother of Runes. You know, you typically don't tap a Mother of Runes to win a trade because then they can remove it in response, but 2 of them gives you all sorts of leeway.
Yeah, he's got a ton of insurance at this point.
Going to go ahead and waste Hoey down to 2 lands. So that Thalia plus Wasteland plus Port interaction doing some work. Hoey looks at his top card. It is not something he wishes to reveal to Delver. The question is, does he want to crack a fetch land? He's going to, in response to that fetch land, even Mind Sensor from Colin. And now Hoey, I mean, he has got to know that he can't attack. Well, his top card was a duel, so
sure.
Still finds a land. He gets to shuffle. I don't know if he knows any of his cards. I don't know if shuffling... yeah, I think it's just a shuffle.
I think it's mandatory regardless.
Yeah, no, it is still mandatory. Just don't think he knows anything about it. Draws Nimble Mongoose, but I don't know if he can break through this wall. It doesn't seem like he can. Nimble Mongoose is the play. Hoey simply passes back.
And now the mana denial elements are coming into play too.
Absolutely. Colin Logan doesn't have a way to win yet, but it doesn't seem like he's losing anytime soon. So given time, he will find a way to win. And Thalia is going to be the way we start. Thalia will swing in. Matt had the option of trading a Insectile Aberration with that Thalia. He could have double... Well, not really, actually. He would just get protection from a color.
Yeah. And Hoey can't really trade the way this game is shaping up. He's got to try to find some way to make the game non-interactive.
Colin just hitting him while he's down. Another Wasteland. This time knocks Matt off of red mana, leaving his hand powerless as that last Lightning Bolt not even castable for many reasons. First of all, Thalia keeps it down. Second of all, he doesn't have red.
Yeah. And now, as you mentioned, Colin can just kind of win at his leisure.
Yeah, he's porting Hoey's single land. Hoey did flip that second Insectile Aberration off of Spell Pierce, but there is a wall here, and there are a lot of steps it's going to need for Hoey to get through it. And third land, it's Caracas for Colin Logan. It's interesting in this matchup, this creature-based deck in Death and Taxes really, it doesn't play like an aggro deck. He does feel just like a controller, even a prison deck.
There's some matchups like against pure combo decks where the deck kind of has to speed up, and it's no coincidence that the pure combo matchups are among some of its worst matchups because of this. It does try to set up a fort that the other person can't break through.
Yeah, they do have play-in combo matchups. It's one of the interesting parts about the deck. You know, Mother of Runes into Thalia, for example, an excellent start against a deck like Ant or, you know, High Tide or something.
Yeah, you have really good game against spells with some of your cards. Phyrexian Revoker is really good against particular classes of combo decks. That's why the Elves matchup is so rough. Neither Thalia nor Revoker really matter. Things
like Elves are like Allurin, which we saw earlier. Allurin would have to be among its worst matchups.
Yeah.
And the game just passing back for a few turns here. The Rishan Port was wasted, so he is freeing up some of his mana, but Hoey still just with Spell Pierce and Lightning Bolt, real far off from a win. And Phyrexian Revoker. Also, he's gonna have to crack a fetch in response to that one.
Well, not to the Revoker.
Oh, sorry,
but
you're right. It's not can't hit lands.
I don't even think there's anything to name in Hoey's deck.
Okay, it's just a 2/1.
Yep.
Which is fine. You can start swinging. Well, I don't know if the Mongoose is a 3/3 yet. Maybe he can start swinging with it.
I had to assume Hoey's at threshold by this point. This game's gone on for a while. He's gotten wastelanded a bunch of times and so forth.
Ooh, well, he named Goblin Piker off of Phyrexian Revoker. A legal card to name, and quite fitting as that's what the card is. So I don't think Hoey's playing Goblin Piker, and I don't think he has any activated abilities.
No.
So, looks like Hoey does have a second Lightning Bolt. So is this 2 down, 2 to go?
Yeah, but another problem is that Hoey has to be really careful about searching for his Volcanic too, because he's at risk of running out of red sources as well.
Have 2 of them been wasted already, or just 1? He got 1 of his volcanics wasted. He only has 3.
I believe it's 2. I believe he's had 2 wasted.
So if he gets his 3rd one wasted, then it's no more lightning bolts. Another Phyrexian Revoker comes down for, for Logan. We're going to get another card off it. Oh, this one's actually even closer. This one's Bronze Sable, so not just a Goblin Piker, but it's an artifact Goblin Piker.
Okay.
And we're just going to trade back and forth here for a while. The Shroud Nimble Mongoose is keeping Logan's creatures at bay, so we're just passing back and forth. I feel like we did this last round.
I like the euphemism, we're going to trade here for a while, by which you mean trade lands.
Yeah, trade lands.
We're going to spend some time strip mining
draws.
each other, and then...
Yeah. Here, can I have a card? You can have a card if I get a card. Okay. All right. Let's do that again. Okay. No, just kind of watch each other. Have a standoff. Eventually, Colin will break through. He'll get a card like Sarah Avenger or Stoneforge Mystic, and that will break the parity.
Yeah.
The thing is that Hoey knows this. You know, there are plenty more outs. We do see a Stifle. So that Stifle not completely dead. He could stifle a Mother of Runes trigger with it.
The problem is that it feels like kind of all this is predicated on Hoey being able to cobble together multiple spells in the turn to fight through the Mother of Runes and break up the board. And with Thalia in play, it just seems
not
nearly
really
impossible to do that.
He drew, I believe it's Tarmogoyf, but remember he has like 1.5 lands in play because, you know, it's unlikely that when he cracks his fetch land that he'll actually find a mana producing land. I think he only has 3 left in his deck. So he's really just on 1 land thanks to Aven Mind Sensor. Colin, this turn drew Swords to Plowshares, is going to go ahead and swords one of these insectile aberrations. Hoey's debating if he wants to force the swords. He could try to spell pierce the swords if he felt real lucky and thought he could hit off that fetch land. He's got a bunch of really crappy lines available to him. You have to figure out which one's less bad than the others. Do you want to force it, or do you want to run the fetch, or do you want to let it happen? I don't think you can let it happen.
Even if he finds with the fetch, there's a risk that that opens him up to losing red mana.
Oh yeah, that line, the bad parts of that line does not stop at what if he misses off Mind Sensor. There's more. 1, 2. Is he gonna get there? 3, and it looks like he stone rained himself. Was that your line? Were you going with that one, or are you gonna go with the Force of Will? They're both so bad.
I would have started here.
All right, I agree.
If I'm in Hoey's position, I'm already in just have to get lucky territory.
I suppose you can do this line first,
and that was
then
another.
The swords.
And see, look, they just traded, just more trades like you mentioned before. Hoey's down a land. They've traded.
He didn't even have to spend a land. That was a 3-for-1. All right, Hoey on Tropical Island. That's going to be pretty tough when your opponent has Thalia. And now here comes the finisher, though. Stoneforge Mystic hits for Colin Logan. It's going to find all sorts of cards. It doesn't really matter. Jite, Batterskull, none of them are things that Hoey can beat.
Yeah, this feels like Batterskull time to me, but...
Batterskull's great. I mean, it's hard to say it's not Jite time as well, right? Jite plus First Strike's pretty good, too. Like, yeah, Sword of Fire Ice. All right, there's a third option. It's also good.
That's quite sweet here.
Yeah, I don't think it matters which one he gets.
They're all fine. Because there's a Nimble Mongoose in play, it's a little bit more annoying to get the Jite and maybe have to slog through that. So it's hard to go wrong is the larger point.
Mm-hmm. Plenty of creatures to equip it to. You know, he has the Revoker set to Piker and the Revoker set to Bronze Sable. Those guys can do some work. It looks like Hoey may have drawn another Nimble Mongoose, though. So he's going to go ahead and put that one down. He's going to be able to block these sorted creatures and trade with them, but the sword means that Logan can force trades.
Or he can simply put the sword on the Mind Sensor.
Just start hitting them.
And just shoot down the Insectile Aberrations, if he's worried about that.
I suppose he could just put it on the Mind Sensor and shoot down Hoey as well. Right, that's 6 damage and 2. That's 6 a turn.
Yeah, but this is the lock.
Sarah Avenger plus sort of my Fire Ice. As Sarah Avenger has played Hoey with another Tarmogoyf.
Hoey is showing a lot of competitive spirit by continuing to play this game out.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is it's not going to be too long. You know, it's not like when you have a Miracles player and the other person is playing like the Miracles player is activating Jace for a 6th time and the other guy has 0 cards. He's like, no, I got this.
Yeah.
You know, this one at least ends, and that's going to do it. Hoey Colin Logan takes game 1, and he is 1 away from winning this Open.
Not too surprising again. This is a tough matchup through and through for Rug Delver.
Yeah, Matthew Hoey had a decent start there. It was a little light on creatures, but it turns out, that first turn 1 Delver that flips into Insectile Aberration, it never died for the whole game. It's not that Colin ever answered it. It's more that Colin just set up a lock, and Hoey wasn't able to stop it.
It's one of those games, you would ask Hoey, you got to start off with a flipped Insectile Aberration, and your opponent never draws Swords to Plowshares. That sounds like the kind of game you can win. And Hoey never really got close.
Interesting question. If you're Rug Delver on the play, and I tell you can have a turn 1 flipped Delver, if your Death and Taxes opponent can have a turn 1 Aether Vial that resolves, do you take me up on the offer?
Probably not.
Okay, the Aether Vial, even though you're on the play, I think on the draw you certainly don't take that
right,
offer.
I think even on the play, the Vial just shuts down too much of Hoey's hand, and combat becomes prohibitive or really awkward to get through. There's just too many problems when that Vial was in play, and it effectively generated so much mana and allowed Death and Taxes to function in instant speed.
Yeah, he never really tapped mana for cards.
Yeah, I mean, he only did it when he was fine with things getting countered.
Right. All right, well, this is it. We are after game 1 of our finals. This is our final giveaway of the evening, but this is the big one. It's 12 months of Star City Games Premium, and typically end our shows with this question. So if you believe you know the answer, make sure you follow the same rules as before. Tweet at us the answer with hashtag SCG Premium, and we are asking, where will the SCG Open be traveling to next week? If you know this answer, tweet it at us for a chance for 12 months of Star City Games Premium. And if you live near the place, be sure to show up next weekend.
Yeah, also, I'm going to be doing this show with Cedric Phillips. He'll be back in the booth next weekend. Again, for extra credit, for extra, ping pong balls in the basket, whatever you want to call it, for extra chances to be selected, tweet at Cedric Phillips in your answer, because he really likes that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be there. It just makes sense.
Yeah, he's going to be there. It's part of the answer. Where we're going to be, me and Cedric, at Cedric A. Phillips. Let him know that you're out there and that you're engaged in social media and that you'd like to talk to him about whatever, because he really likes that.
This is your first trip out there for an Open, isn't it?
It is. It's my first time.
All right. Well, with that said, we're going to bring back into the match. Hoey has picked up his first game loss of the tournament. That means he's going to be sideboarding from behind a little bit, and he's going to have to win a game on the draw.
So he's got 2 Curse Totems, 2 Grafdigger's Cages, an Ancient Grudge, 2 Fluster Storms, 3 Power Blast, 3 Submerge, 2 Rough Tumble. I like Ancient Grudge a lot in this matchup. Colin's got all sorts of artifacts, equipment, and Aether Vial that he's got to fight over. I think Rough Tumble is reasonable here.
Yeah, I mean, Pyroclasm effects have traditionally been pretty good against Death and Taxes. They kill almost every creature in the deck. There are some things it will not hit. It will not hit Naven Mind Sensor. It will not hit a Sarah Avenger. But overall, it still seems like a net positive in the matchup.
And that feels kind of the end of the sideboard to me, the rest of these cards. Not really for this matchup. I don't think Curse Totem's good enough, and the rest of these things are for entirely different matchups.
Yeah, I mean, and this does happen a lot when you play really a blue deck in Legacy that's trying to go toe-to-toe in a counter war with combo decks, is a lot of your sideboard has to be devoted for hate against unfair strategies. So when it comes to fighting against something like Death and Taxes, which is pretty fair, you only have about 3 or 4 spots to give to that matchup.
Right. On the other side here, Colin with a Grafdigger's Cage, a Manriki Kasari, a Meekstone, an Aethersworn Canonist, 2 copies of Wiltlead Leaves, a Moat, 2 Oblivion Rings, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Lane, 2 Cataclysm. The Rest in Peace should be excellent here in the same way they were excellent against Bug Delver. 8 of Matthew's 12 creatures rely very heavily on the graveyard, so that's a big upgrade. The 2 Oblivion Rings, I think, are just fine catch-all removal spells. And I think you might see the Meekstone come in here as well. Hoey, they're all 3-powered creatures, could create real trouble. He's only got the 1 copy of Ancient Grudge to break out of it.
All right. We'll see if he can get that. And I pretty much agree with you. We saw him sideboard against Bug Delver. Is it the same strategy against Rug Delver, more or less?
More or less. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. The fact that Nimble Mongoose can't be killed is a little bit different, but it's effectively the same matchup. The fact that the Bug player has access to Abrupt Decay, and that changes the way that you have to protect certain things. Okay. And Golgari Charm is a tool that they have that Rug doesn't really have. So there's a lot of similarities, but a couple of the specific cards make the matchup play out a bit differently.
Suppose you don't board in Wiltleaf Liege this time.
Right, Lily. The lack of Liliana is a big difference too.
Yeah, but Rug Delver seems like it's even less equipped to go late than Bug was. It's, you know, if Colin can survive to turn 9, it seems like he can survive the whole match.
I'm really happy with the number of people who appear to be tweeting at Cedric A. Phillips with the answer right now.
But just because you're happy with the number doesn't mean we have to let the number stop at that.
That's true.
It could be more.
I'm happy, but not satisfied.
All right, and going into this one.
One day Cedric's going to get me back for this. I mean, that's just...
Oh, probably.
That's just a guarantee, you know.
All right, and we are underway. Hoey gets another one on the play. Starts off with a fetch land. Can play into a 1-drop. He can have Ponder or Delver. We saw him start off with a turn 1 flipped Delver last game. It ended up not being enough as he wasn't able to stop Colin's turn 1 Aether Vial, and then the ensuing cards brought in.
A common card that Rug has in the sideboard that Hoey does not, that really harms him in this matchup, is Grim Lavamancer. That's one of the best cards you can really have against Death and Taxes, and Hoey without any copies in his 75.
Yeah, he does have a turn 1 Delver. I don't think he has a Daze for a potential Aether Vial. His hand is a little faster than the last one. He has a Goyf in addition to a Forked Bolt and 2 Lightning Bolts.
No green source of mana.
Yeah, he actually had to make a choice here. He had to choose to either get green or to get red. Based off his hand, 3 red cards, 1 green. He went for the red mana. And it turns out it matters not. He has a fetch. And Forked Bolt goes 1 and 1, takes care of Mother Runes, shoots up to Colin for 1, and Delver brings in a second damage. Colin's down to 18. Hoey's going to just play a fetch for the turn.
Great opening here. A Bolt, a Grudge, a Wasteland that's likely to be good against Colin at some point in the match, and a Goyf you can now cast next turn with the Flooded Stern he just drew.
Yeah, he has Colin's next few plays covered. Bolt for a creature. Grudge for an artifact. And he has a follow-up threat in case Colin has that Swords. So Colin looking like he has a pair of Stoneforge Mystics. One thing he just has to do is not get too far behind. Like, that Delver hasn't flipped yet, so there's not too much pressure. Hoey's removal spells will buy him a lot of time as Colin builds up. Colin plays a Stoneforge Mystic here.
But this is, again, another hand that risks having a lot of the wind taken out of its sails by a removal spell or two. Because at that point, all the removal spells in the world aren't really going to help Hoey. Colin's eventually going to be able to outclass him. Right.
Now, if you're Hoey, you can bolt the Stoneforge Mystic, or you can try to grudge the equipment when Colin brings it into play. Kind of a balancing act here. I almost feel like he's going to wait and use the grudge.
The problem is that if he sits on the grudge, it gets a little bit awkward because he can't really afford to take even a Batterskull hit. Even just one is a huge swing in the race. So if Colin passes with 2 mana up, then you kind of have to also pass with 2 mana up. And if that's stunning your development, then you might be better off killing the Stoneforge Mystic straight away.
Right. He does get Sword of Fire Ice here. So that doesn't mean the Batterskull is not in his hand. That's a bait and switch that Stoneforge Mystic players run all the time. Maybe it depends on whether or not he flips the Delver. We'll see if he does. And Delver flips, and a good flip at that. It flips off a Lightning Bolt. So Hoey adding a lot of pressure to his hand. And a second Lightning Bolt, you can interpret one of 2 ways, right? If you now have a spare Lightning Bolt to bolt the Stoneforge, you can play it that way. Or you could say, if I have 2 Lightning Bolts, I really don't want to bolt anything that's not Colin.
Right. Though I think there's a big risk in getting too fancy here. I understand, you have these Lightning Bolts, it's easy to view them as lava spikes. Your opponent's at 15, you're hitting in increments of 3. There's an argument, but...
Looks like he's going to go for Tarmogoyf if he cracks that fetch land to get a tropical island. So it may not be Lightning Bolt, or it may be Lightning Bolt. He's going to play the Wasteland to play Tarmogoyf. And now comes the decision as to whether or not he wants to bolt the Mystic or wait and bolt Colin. Hasn't really decided. By tanking at this spot, Hoey is kind of letting Colin in on the secret.
Yeah.
Maybe something you'd want to tank, figure out your decision before you made any moves. And yep, cannot take the risk. Bolt's going to take care of Stoneforge Mystic.
I like this play. Just do not get too fancy here.
I'm totally greedy. I'd have gone the other way. But I acknowledge that sometimes greed is bad.
Not to also beat a dead horse here, but this is the type of draw here where if Colin had a couple paths in his sideboard, he would just win the game pretty
removal
easily.
is great. I mean, Rug Delver has this problem where you're an aggro deck with 12 creatures.
Yep.
Like, if people just kill your things, you tend to lose.
If you're able to stem the early rush, they had to spend so many turns spinning their tires trying to reassemble.
Yeah. Another Stoneforge Mystic comes up for Colin. He's going to get a second piece of equipment. He still has a GT and possible Batterskull left to get here.
I just got a text from Cedric Phillips. He is very, very supportive of the enthusiasm everyone is showing on social media right now.
Wow. So Cedric approves of enthusiasm. So let's show him our enthusiasm.
He really appreciates everyone's participation right now.
All right. Mother of Runes joins Stoneforge Mystic.
This is never going to get old for me. I'll tell you what.
So it's so simple and yet so delightful. All right, Ponder from Matthew Hoey. He's going to see Daze, Scalding Tarn, Spell Pierce. I wonder if he just shuffles off this.
This feels like a quick...
Yeah, none of those are cards he wants.
It's a shuffle up, I guess, to me.
Ooh, I have never heard that term, but now I need to use that more often. And we'll see. I mean, I guess if he keeps the Scalding Tarn, he can play all his spells in one turn if that's a thing. But I mean, there aren't even artifacts out yet. I don't know. He may just want to shuffle it and get something new.
Yeah, those cards do not seem that productive here.
Yep, shuffle it does. Shuffle up, I guess. All right. So we're going to try to get another weapon here. And he doesn't have enough removal for both the Mystic and the Mother of Runes.
But he may be able to tolerate the Mother of Runes as long as Stoneforge Mystic isn't cheating anything in.
Yeah, if he's okay bolting this Stoneforge again, then that seems fine.
Or he can lean on the Grudge to take care of what Stoneforge Mystic is up to and kill the Mother of Runes. But I don't think you can let both of these creatures survive. That seems like a huge risk.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have double... Yeah, I mean, I guess he can wait one more turn with Stoneforge because Stoneforge can't activate, put something into play, and then equip and swing. And his draw for the turn, did he hit another lightning bolt?
He hit another bolt.
Ooh, that's a good draw. I'm a fan. All right, 7 damage crashing in. This threatens to put Colin down to 8. And with 8, that means the Insectile Liberation in the air would be lethal next turn if he just goes double Lava Spike with it. Colin takes it all down to 8. Now, do we see a bolt? Is it going to take care of one of the creatures?
I still feel like Hoey needs to bolt here because if he lets Mother of Runes on tap and then Colin finds a flying creature, this could get really complicated.
Sarah Avenger is the play for Logan.
This is what I'm worried about a little bit. Although I guess
Yeah.
in the other world, you have to bolt Mother of Runes and then bolt this. Maybe that's worse, but this is not the card that Hoey wanted to see at this spot.
If you kept all 3 bolts, then you could kill him from here. But there'd be another Stoneforge in play. Maybe we'd have other issues.
There could be other issues.
That might not turn out the best. I mean, to be fair, if Hoey just swings with Tarmogoyf, he may force Colin into tapping the Mother of Runes at an inopportune time, and then he could say bolt the Sarah Avenger. You know, he swings with both if Colin tries to save the Mother of Runes.
Sure.
So Hoey can still put pressure on Colin.
Although with that attack, Colin can also just activate Stoneforge Mystic with the Batterskull in.
Hoey only has single red mana, so he cannot bolt and Grudge.
Correct.
And a game that really seemed to give Hoey most of the tools he needed. You know, he's on the play, turn 1 Delver, 3 Lightning Bolts, a Forked Bolt for a Mother of Runes, Tarmogoyf. This seems like a win for Rug Delver, but yet it's pretty tough here.
Yeah. Again, Sarah Avenger was the card Hoey really did not want to see this turn. And now there's
Alright,
the issue of how does he chain his mana here? Like, it almost feels like he has to use the bolt right now on something because he's so bottlenecked on red mana that he can't play his spells efficiently if he just untaps and goes in the next turn.
So he's going to go ahead and attempt to bolt the Sarah Avenger, and it looks like he's just going to double bolt Sarah Avenger. He bolts it here, he gets the Mother Runes, and he can bolt it again. It's a really big price to pay, but it's the big price. The problem with the price of this is that if he doesn't have another red source, that's allowing Stoneforge Mystic to happen. And Batterskull's into play.
Yeah, this is the risk of not killing the Mother Runes straight away. Is now you kind of have to use an additional removal spell to get off the table.
I mean, you consigned your bolts to be Lava Spikes when you didn't kill Mother Runes. You conceded that your bolts were Lava Spikes with marginal upside.
Yep.
And with an opponent at 8, Lava Spikes may not be good enough. All right, you can kill the Sarah Avenger or grudge the Batterskull. I think you have to grudge the Batterskull. The issue here is if you're going to grudge the Batterskull, why bolt the Avenger in the first place?
I think because he just has to cast something last turn.
Yeah,
he's not going to be able to play his spells efficiently otherwise. I don't care.
Why not bolt go upstairs with it, right? If you're not going to take advantage of the fact that you, like by playing that bolt, you tapped a Mother Runes, right? That's all you did.
Because if you untap and grudge the Batterskull, you can't attack unless the Mother Runes is down. Like if Mother Runes is untapped,
so now okay. So now you swing everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, he swings everything. So if the Avenger doesn't chump block, he puts Colin down to 3, and he has a bolt in hand.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a plan here. Colin down to 3. All right. Hoey's got a good plan. Can Colin gain some life? Any amount will probably get the game for him. You know, this Tarmogoyf is unlikely to deal more damage on the attacks.
I mean, this has to be. It can't even be Jitte equip here because Hoey can flash back the grudge. He's got that covered.
Right. It would. I mean, a Rest in Peace would do it. No, wait, no. He's at 3, so he just needs life gain. A Swords to Plowshares would do it.
Yeah, he needs to plow his own guy.
And Sword Equip, that's not going to work. Hoey's going to grudge it, and Hoey's got this game.
Yep. Snuck it.
Wow. Well played, sir. All right. Looks like we're going to be going to 3 here. Tapped out with an opponent at 3. He's going to start with Cursed Totem. And then Lightning Bolt.
It's a little odd there. I'm surprised that Hoey showed that he had Cursed Totem in his sideboard, or brought it in rather. Not 100% that would have been coming in, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, what is the advantage to playing Cursed Totem there first?
Unless he's planning on siding it out for game 3.
So that's just a mind game, really.
I have no idea. I mean, maybe testing to see if Colin knows what Cursed Totem does. There's some arguments, but.
All right, and so we're back onto game 3 in what turned out to be a really close game between Colin and Matthew Hoey. Hoey had an excellent start on the play.
He did. That was a great draw.
And yeah, despite the fact that it was a great draw, it was a draw that took a lot of work. So in this situation, I would think game 3, Colin's going to be a favorite if he's on the play. You know, it's going to take another great draw from Hoey to get one on the draw.
For sure. And this is another, Colin there with no copies of Swords to Plowshares. Feels like that game is pretty easy for him to win if he has even just 1 plow. It doesn't need to be 2.
Right. He can have a hand like, I mean, the scary part I think about the matchup is there's some draws. Say Colin has a hand of land, Aether Vial, Plow, Stoneforge Mystic, 2 more lands. Like, that's not even an unreasonable hand, but it's a hand that Hoey has a huge amount of trouble beating.
Yeah. I mean, it required all of Hoey's bolts that game. He drew a bunch of them. He drew his Fork Bolt. There's only 1 copy in the list. His Ancient Growers was critical. I mean, that was the perfect mixture of stuff going on that game.
And he used every card. He did not have a single damage to spare there.
Yeah.
And we see both players here. So remember, this is our final match. Colin Logan and Matthew Hoey. Colin was the first person to deliver Hoey a loss in the top A tier. Can he do it again? It looked for a while like he might have it in game 2 there, but Hoey was able to eke one out with that exact lightning bolt to take him down from 3.
A really quintessential rogue delver there with, just having all of your resources barely used up there to squeak out the last points.
Yeah, so with Colin, I mean, I've been kind of building this at like the best thing you can do in this matchup, turn 1. I mean, you'd think Mother Runes or Aether Vial. It doesn't seem to matter which one it is.
Yeah, I still think it's Vial.
Because it turns off so many cards.
It makes the game really hard for Hoey to play, too. The counter spells are shut off. He has to leave up mana playing around things at all times or just, suck up that certain creatures are going to be really hard for him to deal with. Vial is just very punishing on the types of defensive cards that Hoey has for the matchup.
Yeah, so we'll see here. Colin presented, Hoey shuffling for the game. Yeah, and I mean, Hoey doesn't board out too much of his control, I wouldn't think, in this matchup. It just doesn't seem like he can board out his counter spells.
Yeah.
Day's still a good card. But when you're on the draw, it certainly is worse, though. Like, the fact that he can't, ideally on the play, he'd have to start like a turn 1 Delver and then Days Colin's 1 drop.
This may be one of those matchups where you say, on the play, I want Days, and on the draw, I want Force of Will. Because there's so many critical 1-mana cards he has to fight over, Mother Runes and Aether Vial, that he can't really let resolve. And so on the play, of course, Days works fine against those cards, but on the draw, he may need the insurance of Force of Will. Yeah, and even then, you have to force these critical 1-drops, but Colin's got to be fine with Hoey forcing a 1-drop too. I mean, that's still a 2-for-1 that Colin scores every time Hoey does it. Yeah, it's one of those things where if he has it, great, and if he doesn't have it, even better. But Hoey does need to protect himself from Colin's openings here because Colin can do so much on turn 1 that's tough for Matt to recover from.
All right, so we have here, this is Colin Logan on the play, game 3. With Death and Taxes, trying to take down Rogue Delver he was able to get it 1 game, starts on Caracas, but no 1-drop, so no Mother Runes and no Aether Vial. That's a pretty big dodge for Hoey. Kind of a sketchy hand here for Colin. Nothing on turn 1, as you mentioned, also leading with Caracas instead of a Plains, so potentially opening himself to Wasteland as well. Looks like he has double Wasteland and Rishadan Port in his hand. This may be his only white mana source, but he has a ton of mana disruption. All right, so it's going to be one of those. So why do you feel about those hands here? Ones where Rogue Delver is generally considered the deck that mana screws its opponent, but it looks like it might be going the other way this time. I'm fine. There's only so many lands in this list. There are only 6 real lands in Rogue Delver. Yeah. Nimble Mongoose, the turn 1 play for Hoey. So he does have a creature. And now we'll see what Colin can do. He has a Thalia as well. And looks like he's going to get a chance to get it out. He's going to try to do that before mana screwing his opponent. And in a way, he kind of still did the mana denial strategy. It did meet with a Daze, but he forced Hoey to Daze something. Exactly. Again, it's one of those things where if he has it, that's fine. It's still sort of working inside of the plan. And if he doesn't have it, it just magnifies all your other powerful cards. All right, Hoey's going to swing Nimble Mongoose. Then he replays a Volcanic. This time he plays a Volcanic Island, passes back. This leaves up the Lightning Bolt that's in his hand. But Colin Logan's going to continue to develop. He has 2 Rishadan Ports and a Waste. He has another Rishadan Port and a Wasteland. So some of his mana denial is a little mana intensive here. He's going to go ahead and waste the Volcanic Island here. That's going to keep Hoey off of Daze mana for the next spell. Not only that, but it does not look like Hoey has backup red mana, so that could cut off the bolts for forever. So it looks like this is just happening. I guess Hoey's contemplating whether or not he just wants to fire a bolt off at Colin. Oh, wow. I mean, he doesn't have another source of red mana. He does have 2 lightning bolts. And the sooner he can get to Threshold, the better. Yeah, but it does put a 4th card in the graveyard. Interesting consideration. This is typically not a spot where you would think about lava spiking your opponent. Hoey's been lava spiking a lot. Taking a cue from the burn player he played in the top 8. Lightning Bolt is just a fancy lava spike. We'll see if he chooses to do it. It is a long contemplation here. It's a lava spike that allows you to make a mistake. That's why Lava Spike's the better card. You can't screw it up.
You have to play it as a sorcery. That's generally correct. And you can't target a creature with it. Also generally correct.
All right, he's going to let it just get blown up. And he's going to float the mana and then Lava Spike him. So he does go for the Lava Spike. Colin down to 16. And now we see Stoneforge Mystic. Hoey cannot answer that.
Can't daze, and unless he draws very well, can't even bolt it next turn.
This could be this batter. If it's Batter Skull, and I think it will be, this could spell trouble. You know, Batter Skull just big enough to overpower a thresholded Nimble Mongoose. And some justice when you start playing Mana Denial against a Rug Delver player.
Oh, giving them a little taste of their own medicine?
Oh, I mean, do you feel sorry for the Rug Delver player?
I do not.
Just not at all.
I do not. Your old Stifle Wasteland deck.
Yeah.
Have a taste.
Sure. I need to get sort of Fire Ice. Walk me through it.
Not sure.
I don't get it. All
May
right.
already have Batter Skull.
Okay. If he taps through and puts Batter Skull into play, I'm fine. Then I like it. Doesn't matter. Hoey draws Grudge, but he doesn't have the red mana, so
Yeah.
matters? Question mark. Unclear.
A torturous draw. And we know that that tropical island is also not long for this world.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he has the Wasteland. I think he just has a second port. He may have a Wasteland. We'll see here. Why don't he just continue to blow stuff up? Oh, it looks like he does. Well, he has two of you know, that the old-faced yellow text box lands. Yeah, that's gonna be Wasteland. Like I said, not feeling bad.
Not at all. No sympathy.
all.
No sympathy for Matt Hoey. I like him fine as a human being too, you know. He's a nice guy, but I do not care one whit about this happening to him.
And this could be, I guess if you're just gonna Wasteland completely, he's gonna take the main phase here and just make a sword, I think. Oh, we need to, all right, good, he does have the Batter Skull. And there we go, Germ Token gets equipped. Hoey with no lands, draws Tarmogoyf.
Oh, Legacy.
Yep, sometimes you just don't get to have lands. And a second, so we have another port here. Like, Hoey's not gonna have lands for a long time.
No.
Probably for the whole game. And Colin's gonna go to work.
He'll have to sit at the table and kind of goldfish after Colin has already accepted the trophy and walked over to the score table to have his interview before he has 2 lands in play, I think.
And Colin, just showing that he's really only going to play tap those recent imports now, plays Aether Vial, leaves 2 up for the Sword of Fire Ice. And there we go, it's a fetch land for Matthew Hoey. He's gonna pass, there's still a lot of trouble going on here though. End step, Stoneforge Mystic puts that Sword of Fire and Ice into play. And a draw here. And I don't, yeah, he drew, and he immediately draws and he's like, oh, yeah, I have this Aether Vial. It's fine. It's not really what's on his mind right now anyway. He's going to equip the Sword of Fire and Ice to the Germ Token. And Hoey points out that the creature's green and has Shrouds, so, you know, this is only a swing for 8 if he chooses to take it. And this is tough. This is a tough spot.
This is a tough spot.
This is a tough spot. I don't know.
A succinct summary of this game.
If Hoey draws another land, he can grudge everything. He's got a shot. He's got to do it now because otherwise Colin leaves up 3 mana and you can't even grudge Batter Skull anymore.
Well, the bigger question is then how is he going to get to his main phase with mana, which is sort of the second part of getting back into this game.
Right now. He draws mana to right now.
Oh, no, he can grudge. That's totally fine. I'm just saying.
I mean, the fact that there's like a Mother of Runes, a Stoneforge Mystic, and like some mana and an Aether Vial going on the other side.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, no, we're not there yet. We're dealing. First, we're dealing with this giant thing
focus,
with all the stuff on it.
Let's focus on the first thing. Then we'll talk about the second.
That stuff's not killing us directly. That's just killing us like in 3 steps instead of 1.
All right.
He's going to go ahead and fetch. This fetch is down to 6. He's going to find a mountain. I think that means he's going to Lightning Bolt the Mother of Runes. Okay, so see, we're taking care of the secondary steps here too. First, we get rid of this Mother of Runes. And that's going to happen. Lightning Bolt hits Mother of Runes. Next turn, we just top deck a mana source. That one just has to happen. No substitute for that. And he does. It's a fetch land. All right. Game is on here.
All right.
He can grudge the batter. He has to main phase grudge the batter skull. I think otherwise, if he doesn't, he will never get another chance to. And okay, he's not going to. All right, he's up to something else. Well, let's see what he's on here. Come on, there's 3 mana up, right? So now, like, grudging the batter skull doesn't work anymore. Hoey's got a trick here. And, and another wasteland for Colin Logan. The good news is he didn't get the green mana, so Hoey can cast both halves of this grudge. Bad news is he's not going to cast anything else for a while. And I am surprised if he had cast the grudge, if he could have nabbed the batter skull with the grudge, maybe he could have blocked with Nimble Mongoose too.
It's possible he's trying to eat the entire turn by saying, all right, I'm going to go at, you let Colin untap. You go, I'll grudge your batter skull. Colin brings it back to his hand. You get to untap and play Curse Totem. Now you don't have to worry about the batter skull for a little while, and you get your Curse Totem into play.
Okay.
I think that's the line of play there.
All right, so he's going to go ahead and grudge batter skull. It looks like Colin's actually just going to let that one happen.
Yeah. I think now he's just, most likely just move the sword over to the
Stoneforge. It's going to be rest in peace. He hits the second half of Ancient Grudge. Just how many days? 1 day's in hand? Oh, well, we only have 1 island, so, well, Nimble Mongoose is going to be 1/1. The Ancient Grudge is going to go away.
Hoey's quickly approaching the point where there will be no memory of him having participated in the game. All right,
he keeps getting to the point where like, okay, he's got a shot if he draws, and then just Colin just like, third wasteland, rest in peace. And there you have it, Colin Logan, 2-1. He is your Star City Games legacy champion of Kansas City.
Matthew battled really tough in a matchup that's not easy, but in the third game, that's just legacy sometimes when you play these Delver decks or, these Esper Deathblade decks with no basic lands. Sometimes it's just going to happen to you.